We're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave.
Everything the light touches, Shema. I can't do it. Watch him.
That turned into Sean Connery real quick.
It's really hard. You got to like bring the jowls.
Yeah, you really got to.
This is going to be terrible audio, but here's your first hint on what we're talking about.
What is that?
You can't see this if you're just listening, but it's just me making here. See if you can figure out by sound what face this is. I'll do more audio.
What is this? Is it animated? Is that why you're making such an exaggerated face?
No, I'm just an idiot.
Okay,
and that's
good.
the way it
Oh,
is.
thank God.
Hey, welcome to Your Inner Child's an Idiot, the podcast where we look back on things from our childhood and see if they were any good to begin with. My name is DJ.
My gains are my name.
My gains are multiple. I'm DJ.
That's why I had to say gains. That's why I use the S. And I'm Damon. I can't wait to find out what frowny face means but like also hunched shoulders. What is that?
Yeah,
is it Uncle Buck?
No, but you're not too far off. So
I can't remember if that's a Christmas movie or just family, type of movie.
I mean, we're recording this in the beginning of November, just so everyone knows how unwell we are. But
we're in a great mood.
This is of the season. I would say it's seasonally appropriate more than a holiday movie. Okay, so that's your first hint.
Seasonally appropriate more than a holiday movie. Is it a Hanukkah movie?
No, there is Christmas.
Movie.
I don't know if you would call this. I'm going to say it's enough of a Christmas movie that we're going to.
Is it one of those Christmas adjacent movies? The Die Hards, Your Moonstrucks.
Yeah. It stars the original Odd Couple,
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Oh,
literally.
Oh!
And don't forget the face.
The grumpies. The grumpiest of men. Not grumpiest or even grumpier.
No.
Just standard issue, original recipe.
Yeah.
Factory default. Grumpy old men.
Grumpy old men, 1993. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau.
Burgess Meredith.
Kevin Pollak.
And Margaret.
She's
the one that sends them.
She's the dame that sends their old hearts a-racing.
Turns them from grumpy to horny old men.
This is one of many, and obviously there was a sequel, Grumpier Old Men. This is one of a handful of movies that Jack Lemmon starred in that some reason had like some sort of, like he had like some renaissance in the 90s.
He had a late career renaissance.
He did.
Thank you, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross.
Yeah. And then there was also, which I guess, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross was not one of my favorites as a kid, if you can believe
Kids love that. Always be closing, kids were always saying to me.
Listen, graham crackers
coffees for winners. They would.
Your
crackers.
Your bit was good too. Sorry, I stepped all over it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you were saying something about
My Fellow Americans
or something.
My Fellow Americans was the other one that he was in, which I think was not nearly as big of a movie as this one, but I saw it probably just as many times for some reason. It's about presidents. We don't need to talk about it. So in this movie,
we've talked about it at great length many times.
I don't remember exactly the premise. There are two old men. They have like a very contentious. It's kind of a friendship, but like in a like mean way. Like they talk to each other an awful lot. Yeah, I would say they're frenemies, kind of. I think. And then there's a new lady moves to town and just
sexy, somewhat age appropriate lady. Although I'd like to check the numbers on Anne Margaret versus Walter Matthau.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they were pretty old at this time, but how old were they playing versus how old they were? How old was she versus? I mean,
I would have to say that Walter Matthau in this movie is in his 70s, right?
It gotta be, I would think, or at least late 60s.
Yeah,
and Jack,
Bad News Bears.
Yeah, they're kind of
taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Are they the same? Like, they're the same age range, I would say. But Walter Matthau just looks like a catfish, so he looks.
Yeah, he looks like he's the gravity is not kind to Walter Matthau. Although he is one of the great caricatures. It's always fun to draw Walter Matthau. A lot of lines, a lot of that. You're very accurate. Now that I know what you're doing, Your impression was great. Now that you've told me what the impression was, I can appreciate it more.
That's why when I do my stand-up, I always say, this is Walter Matthau and Grumpy Old Men. And then I turn around to get my face right.
I like that
and then
trick,
And then I turn back around and then I go, and I just
and then we all laugh.
Kind of give a pouty face. Did you watch this growing up? I saw this hundreds of times for some reason.
I remember this was a Harry rental.
Okay. Harry, your father.
Harry, my father, yes. He loved it, and I remember we watched it as a family, and I remember my dad had a habit when he was younger, and by younger, I mean probably around my age, where if something like a little ribald or a little sexy, like a sexy little joke happens, he would get overstimulated, one might say, and he'd be like, "Oh!" and then he'd like walk out of the room, going, "Hoo!" and then he would go and get himself a drink or a snack. It's very oddly, in retrospect, charming. And then I was like, "The movie's still fucking on. Where are you going?"
Do you think he was just using that opportunity to like make an exit, and like he was going to get the snack, or go to the bathroom?
2 minutes later.
I know, like I don't mean like forever. I just mean like he wanted to get the snack, he wanted to go to the bathroom or whatever, and he just looked for a moment. And he was like, "Now's my time. If I have this little moment coming up."
Yeah, I think he
or was he embarrassed?
Maybe it was a secret embarrassment, and he used it as a way to get out, pull himself together, return back in the room. Yeah. Usually with
Harry,
a Sprite.
Harry, compose yourself. Okay. Pull it together.
I remember 2 things from this movie. One thing that I still remember to this day, which is you can wish in one hand and shit in the other and see which one gets filled up first, which is a line that Burgess Meredith has. Burgess Meredith is Jack Lemmon's father, even more old father, I believe. Yeah. And I think he sort of steals the movie, if I remember. He was my favorite when I was a kid.
And I also remember lunch, bacon for dinner. I usually drink my dinner or something like that.
Deranged. And I also remember a delicious subversion of expectations during the opening credits, where you see it's snow everywhere, everything is blanketed in snow, and they're playing Heat Wave. The entire opening credits are like a heat wave.
They live in Minnesota.
Because they live in Minnesota.
Yeah.
There's ice fishing also in this movie.
Yes, there's an ice fishing component. I remember that was a phrase my grandma used. So I remember when they
ice fishing component.
No, want in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one fills up first. But she would say "want" in one hand, and I think I didn't understand what she meant.
But she would still say "shit."
I can't remember if she said "shit" or "piss." It was one or the other. Mm-hmm. And then he says it in this movie, and he says, I think, "wish" in one hand, or something. He says something much clearer than what my grandma said, and I was like, "Oh, now I understand the whole metaphor. Your empty wants and needs and wishes are worth shit."
The verb "want."
They don't mean nothing. They're ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fill a toilet with them, and that's what matters in this world. What can you fill a toilet with? Not
to go completely off this topic, but I remember as a kid...
Do not come for Alice right now. God rest her soul.
I'm not going to come for Alice. I wouldn't dream of it. But I remember as a kid, I had a little wooden plaque with Psalm 23 in my room.
One hand, shit in the other.
Which, of course, opens with wish, wanton. But anyway.
Love Jesus.
In it, Psalms are Old Testament.
Shit.
Come on. You look like a fucking idiot.
I always get the 2 testaments confused because they named them so similarly.
They both got testament in it. I feel like I was close.
Is this the one with Anne Margaret, or is this the one with Sophia Loren?
But I remember in that one, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And I remember being like, why? I thought you wanted me to want him. I thought I wanted him around. Why would I want to get rid of him?
No, you got to want the right things.
Right. I shall not want food or anything if I have God around.
As humans, we are wont to want.
Fun with verbs and vowels, actually. I mean,
it's stupid. I am looking forward to this. I think I saw this movie more times than how good it's going to be. Just a guess here.
I think this will be a charming 7.
Yeah, I feel like that's where I'm about. Maybe even a 6.5. But like, I want it to be, because in my memory, it's a solid like 8 or maybe even a 9 just by volume of watches. But I think it might have just been on cable or something.
It feels like one of those movies that was just on a lot. I don't think I remember why, even though I enjoyed it when we rented it from the erstwhile It's Showtime Video or some other equivalent.
Jazz hands. They always did jazz hands there. I'm sure
they wouldn't because they were really Christian, so I'm sure they would have thought, that's pretty gay.
Keep the blades.
Keep the hands.
Christians, only blades.
At 90 degrees and completely still. Yeah, but I don't feel like I sat down and watched it on cable a lot.
Okay.
Which is saying something because I have a reputation for watching a lot of on cable. So we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. Watch along with us. We're going to watch Grumpy Old Men 1993. Watch along with us. We'll be back after these messages from us.
You ever been in debt to the IRS, Tej?
I guess technically, yes.
We're
every
all
year.
in debt to the IRS. Fucking government.
I know it like comes up every time, but it's like, you could just tell me what I owe.
Nah, we'd rather just trap you. we want to. We're spinning a web, and we want to see if you fall for it.
You know.
What's that, Tej?
I was gonna say something about Patreon being a write-off, but I don't think it is.
No, don't do that. We can't. We're not CPAs. We can't.
We are not.
Speak to that.
I'll tell you what, we're not 501c3s, so we cannot deduct.
We are decidedly for profit. Someday.
Technically.
Once the profit arrives, we are for it.
Join in and help us reach that goal of being for profit. Patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot. You can get bonus episodes.
Yeah.
If you join it at the highest level, you can get your suggestions shot to the top of the queue. You can be a guest.
Cheating. Yeah. Capitalism in a nutshell.
Yeah. You can be, you can get your name in the credits. I mean, the list goes on. Not much farther, but it goes on. Patreon.com/YourInnerChild'sAnIdiot.
I think you really sold it.
The grumpy dance is your chance to do the grump.
My
name is Grumpy.
I'm just getting...
Pronounced with an umpy. All the other old men, please allow me to bump thee. You probably remember that from this movie.
I remember. I remember. And then doesn't he just recount the plot of Grumpy Old Men in the rap?
He's like, He's like, John Gustafson and Max, what's his last name?
No idea.
Max Matthau.
Goldman.
Let me recap this movie, okay?
I want you to.
This is Grumpy Old Men. There's a couple of titular grumpy old men.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a rivalry that...
Do you think Burgess Meredith counts as one of the grumpy old men? Does Ossie Davis count as one of the grumpy old men? Or is it strictly the two grumpy old men? Because much like the Magi visiting the Christ child...
Mm-hmm.
The text never specifies how many we're dealing with.
It doesn't. I think it's a little bit up to interpretation. I think that's one of the many layers of this movie.
One of the many ways that this movie is much like the Gospel of Luke.
Is that the one where Jesus is all cryptic and weird? Or
no, that's John. When
John.
When it gets weird and anti-Semitic.
Like, woof. So... The old men, or two of the old men, if you want to include it, are John and Max, and they've had a rivalry that has gone back to 1938. They've just kind of been sniping at each other for years. They're neighbors. They pull little pranks on each other, but things start to get a little bit more heated when a new neighbor moves in, played by the lovely
another grumpy old man.
No.
Oh,
a non-grumpy, somewhat old woman.
Still 20 years their junior. I gotta specify.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't say it right. I feel like that really clear.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I was stunned. That's how stunned I was by how much younger she was than them.
20 years?
Around 20 years, yeah.
She's like late 40s, early 50s?
I think she's in her 50s here.
Yeah. So anyway, the lovely Anne Margaret moves into town, and she causes a ruckus in this tiny town of Wabash, Minnesota, and the men begin to vie for her affections, causing an even more heated rivalry. At some point, Max and John fight so much they're barely talking, and then eventually, John Lemon wins. Wait, Jack Lemmon wins, as he always does.
John Lennon
John Lennon wins.
comes back from the dead.
Famously.
And wins Anne Margaret's heart.
Famously, John Lennon never loses. I don't know.
That's Parker Lewis, I believe you're thinking of.
I'm always thinking of Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
It's you're not alone in mistaking the two. 1/4 of the Beatles and that guy from that show that I kind of only remember the title to. Kind of a Ferris Bueller type
Kind of
dickhead
vibe.
popular kid.
Yeah. So anyway, John and
Max.
Ariel get married at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then also John and Max's kids also kind of get together. Kevin Pollak
and Max,
Daryl Hannah.
Max pays for
and yes, Max
IRS debts.
pays off his IRS debt. Which is
All in that last scene, just all summation.
Kind of wrapped it up.
Got it. Done.
That's basically Grumpy Old Man. I wouldn't say that was like the best recap, but that's basically what happens. You're here. You're in it for the jokes. This is not about plot. So
that being said, there is quite a lot of plot.
I don't think there's that much plot.
I feel like there's a lot of setup, and the movie kind of realized at the end that it was like, shit, we didn't do all that stuff that stories do, and just sort of crammed it all in that last scene. We're like, okay, your IRS debt's settled. Daryl Hannah and Kevin Pollak are going to be doing it from here on out.
From here on out.
And Max, he put that fish in your backseat again, and you married that lady who held your hand in the hospital. So it's all squared away. I think we can go ahead and roll credits. Good on you, everyone.
And this was, the beginning of the mid-credit sequence. This really started it for Marvel movies because we get introduced to new characters that kind of like set up new plot lines for the grumpier old men that would come later. I'm just kidding. It's just outtakes.
It's like, what are you? Did I turn it off too soon? Was my fear. It is outtakes. The
Burgess Meredith gets the glove, the gauntlet, and says, "I'll do it myself."
I'll do it myself. Yeah, I did appreciate that this is what Home Improvement said. Oh, yeah, we could sort of just fill the credits with bloops if we want. We can just do that.
Love outtakes over the credits. And what was the cartoon? Was it Monsters, Inc., where they make fun of that by doing...
I think, Toy Story does it.
Was it Toy Story?
Maybe all those early Pixars perhaps
also
do a
love
fake
that.
bloop.
I also making fun of them using outtakes. I just think it's great. I don't know why outtakes are funny.
See, in an animated movie, you just have to animate that much more. It's pointless to film the outtakes,
Pointless.
That's what makes it even funnier. That's why I'm still laughing to this day.
Right now, still laughing on the inside. I love a good credit. I know we're like jumping to literally the end of the movie, but that is... I love a good credits outtake. I don't know why I find that very charming. Especially in a movie like this.
When I was young, I did appreciate them. And I don't know if you just grow out of them or if it got so overplayed by the end that I was like, I got it. Sometimes people mistake their lines.
I think it also is sometimes just not funny. And these are funny. Like if I had not seen it, or, I haven't seen this movie in 20 years or something. So it was like kind of funny. It's not like amazing, but at the same time, if there are movies where the people making the mistakes or making the improv jokes are not funny, then of course the credit sequence or the outtake sequence doesn't really do anything.
I mean, Walter Matthau is a funny person, so him saying if I knew there would be a nude scene, I've asked for another million. That's funny. There's a cooking show I watch where they sometimes insist on showing the outtakes, and it's just the guy stumbling over his words, and he doesn't say anything particularly funny. He doesn't get mad. He's just like, and then they cut, boop, and then they cut again. I'm like, you don't have to include this. This is just him stumbling over his words. I co-host a podcast where I stumble over my words all the time, and I just don't stop talking. I just keep going.
I just
hope no one noticed.
I just wait for my co-host to point it out, and then we have to spend another 30 seconds talking about it. That's what I do when I mess up. It's called integration. Okay? Creative integration, not racial integration. Don't be weird.
Whoa. Weird. Oh, so you think that's weird?
Fuck.
Now that's an outtake.
Can't even joke about things anymore. Donald
I
Petrie.
unfortunately. Go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to say all my notes are quotes.
There's a lot
except
of
for like
quotes.
stray thoughts near the end.
We got a lot of Petrie. We call our podcast the Petrie dish because we cover so many. We cover Richie Rich. Yep. Okay, we haven't actually. I'm not sure if we've done anything else.
We've done Richie Rich. That's solely. We haven't done Mystic Pizza. Nope, haven't done that, and will walk off the show if we have to. I mean, no. I mean, I what am I doing? I have to get up and then I walk off. I still have to get my microphone and stuff. I have to close my laptop. I can't just leave. I can't storm off like fucking Christian Bale. We're doing this over the Zoomies.
Oh, good for you.
Oh, good. What a nice man.
Okay. Well, we haven't seen. Oh, the only other one we've actually watched for this podcast is Richie Rich, but there's been a bunch of others. 90s favorites. Oh, I guess How to Lose a 10 Guy was also not in the 90s, but it feels like it was in the 90s.
It feels like it was 90 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been 84 years.
There's something about this, like, this feels very early 90s comedy. You know what I mean? Like, it's got that vibe. There's, like, lilting orchestral music. Alan Silvestri does the music in this. The whole thing is, like, straight up stolen from a whole new world. From Aladdin. Like it's
Tyler made that observation as well, where he was like, that sounds like a whole new world.
I never noticed it, but then I was reading some trivia and it was like it referenced it, but luckily I was reading it while I was still watching the movie. It was like it references, and I was like, this is not a reference. A reference is like you might include a little bit of the melody just like as a moment, but this is like straight up he riffs on a whole new world like every time there's like that the romance of
also,
John and
I mean,
Ariel.
First off, you're riffing on a movie that's coming out, the same year as this?
Yeah.
And you're riffing, in what way is this like Aladdin? That people fell in love? Like, there's no reference to Aladdin. There's nothing. What are you talking about? You're referencing it.
I guess, in a way, Abu is like, the musky.
Walter Matthau?
Yeah, kind of.
They're both hirsute, perhaps.
I don't know.
That's
man.
Bullshit. Bullshit alert is what I say.
I like an Alan Silvestri usually, but this was weird.
It was, yeah. There is an element of, I mean, not even just dated. Like I thought at the end, how it just sort of wraps up really suddenly reminded me of old '60s movies, honestly, which is fitting.
Yeah.
But it reminded me a little bit of Pillow Talk, an old Doris Day, Rock Hudson rom-com from the early 60s, where they hate each other, then they fall in love, and then at the end of the movie, like, they kiss and fall in love, and then the movie feels the need to jump ahead a year so that we can see Rock Hudson visiting Tony Randall in his office with his brand new baby, and I'm like, why are you showing me this? And I realized, it's just the 60s telling me, don't worry, they got married, they made a baby. But the fact that this ends like to me seemingly suddenly with a wedding, like it jumps from the hospital to their wedding day.
When it's like there's a fake out, you think it's a funeral at first.
Yeah,
dressed in black because it's
it felt very like. Did I miss a scene? Was there something that was supposed to be in between these two, or possibly 3 scenes in between these 2 scenes? Like, why does it jump suddenly to the wedding? I could have just seen them fall in love. I thought it was a little jarring.
I'm charmed by it, honestly, because it's
I didn't hate it. I don't think it's like this is a piece of shit. It just felt, I definitely am of the opinion, like, I just want to see these old men yell at each other.
Yeah.
If they fall in love, good for them.
Which I think is why it has this kind of like, that's why I feel like it has this kind of like somewhat rushed capstone ending, is because you're like, let's just fill most of the running time with these guys yelling at each other. I feel like they granted you what you wanted. Mm-hmm. But they were like, I guess we got to end this story at some point. Otherwise, they're just yelling at each other, and one of them maybe dies. We're not sure. Like, you got to like wrap up the story. Like, I actually was pretty okay. So this is not like a deep emotional movie, but they did touch on a few things. Like, obviously about feeling isolated. They talk a lot about like people they've lost over the years. One of their friends, Chuck, dies in the movie, and it's just like it's not that specifically isn't like caused by anything. They're older and then that does like cause part of their rift is they're grieving and they're really immature. They don't know like how to deal with it. And then they're like, you know, part of the reason that they're fighting over Ariel is not just because she's charming, although she is, but also because they're alone and they were like, Max literally says like, I don't have time to wait for another Amy, his wife that is passed away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I feel like some of that is, I think they touched on it enough. I didn't need more of it, but it gives it a little bit of gravitas.
It's certainly not a morose film, but yeah, I feel like it is, it feels very, true to maybe getting older, being a widower, and, you know, not having a lot going on socially. Well, I guess they have something going on socially, but not a lot, you know, new things entering your life. And, you know, they're both scaredy cats of Ariel. And it's actually seeing Chuck go over and have dinner with Ariel across the street one night, the night before he dies, that makes them go, oh, he's still out there taking chances. Yeah. And Chuck says as much the morning of, like, hey, you guys just sitting here looking out your windows at her, go over there and talk to her, or whatever he says. I'm just reminded in that scene, Ossie Davis calls them, jokes that they're Don Juans because they're not really Don Juans because they're scared of talking to her. And Walter Matthau says, no wonder the ladies Don Juan anything to do with you. And it made me laugh because it's such a stupid pun.
It's very like Walter Matthau. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like
it helps to sound like Walter Matthau, which is what a basset hound would sound like if it came to life. Well, I mean, it's alive. Basset hounds are alive. They just don't have the power of speech, and that's not what designates if something's alive or not, if it can speak. It's what designates something has a soul. That's how that works.
That's how, like, yeah. I was going to say something, but I got real distracted by the Don Juan joke. What is... Okay, I didn't look it up because I want you to tell me what a lumbago is.
Oh, you know what? I meant to look up a lumbago myself. Is it lumbago, you think? Lumbago with sciatica. Pain in the muscles and joints of the lower back.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I have that.
Oh, like lumbar support.
Lumbago. They're in that's one of the charming moments. They're like in the pharmacy and they're just arguing about their pains and aches. I thought that was very good. And they also have a moment. There's three really like amazing moments in this. That was one of them. Like, there's a lot of funny moments, but like they were actually kind of also very real of like old people talking. The others, like when this is a little bit more comic, but when they're in their big fight, they're fighting on the ice and they come to a point where they're like, yeah, and then you were with her, and he's like, what? So yeah, they like completely forget what they're arguing about.
What? So what?
And then it kind of ends because they're done, and then
they lost track of the thread.
And this one is not really funny. It's in more of like a serious moment with John and his daughter, and the Daryl Hannah character. What was her name? I can't remember her character name. But
Melanie.
And they're talking, and she's going through a divorce, and she's like, well, or a separation, and she's like, well, my husband's never home, and then John immediately like relates it to himself. Yeah, like, yeah, your mother would have complained about that, but I'm like, I didn't want to work 3 jobs. And then she's like, Dad, this is not about you. And I feel like it's a very like elder parent thing where they like relate everything to like being about them or you know, their failings, whether real or imagined. And you're like, yeah, cool. not exactly a fun
We're not
romp.
talking about grumpy old men or anymore, are we?
What? So
let's talk about, how did you feel about R2 leading either the total number of grumpy old men or a percentage of the grumpy old men in this movie? Max and John.
I love them. I think
which one would you be? You have to pick one.
Well, I feel like I would be Jack Lemmon. I would be John because I actually like he has like a conscience. It seems like, but we're also like we're kind of following. He's like clearly
you put it that way. I feel bad that I was happy that you left me, Walter Matthau.
Well, and that actually makes sense because Walter Matthau is funnier. Like he gets way more lines, we're also like kind of following John's character more.
Right.
Like we find out more about his interior
by
life.
a hair our lead.
Yeah. And so I think that's natural that I would relate to him more. But I do think
as the lead of the podcast.
No, as a person, I feel like
I see.
you relate to Walter Matthau more?
I do. And I remember as a kid being disappointed that Jack Lemmon gets the girl. I was really rooting for Max, even though he really has nothing going for him and eats disgusting food. And but he does watch infomercials, which is very much like me.
That's true. They're both kind of sad. They're very sad when we first meet them, and they're kind of like they do have a friendship, which obviously they come to terms with when John has a heart attack, and then Max has to say, and that was also a very touching moment. Like in the hospital, he's trying to tell the nurse, like, "Hey, nurse," he says, "Nurse, hey, nurse," and then eventually,
"What's up with this crazy cuckoo thing, nurse?"
Yeah, and then she's like, "Are you his relative?" And he goes, "No, I'm his friend."
Yeah,
it's fine.
That felt like I was being manipulated by the script. Yeah, and I was like, "Take me, script."
Calgon, take me away.
Go ahead. Do with me what you will, script. I will completely buy into this thing that when when Max is confronted, he has to admit Jack is his
friend.
Is this like conflating their names?
Is that what people mean? Like, what would you call that? A guilty pleasure? When you're like, I recognize that like it's kind of cliche, or that it's like a little cheesy, or like, we talked about it's very early 90s, it's very kind of dated, but I'm like here for all of it. Like, I'm like, this is very charming. I find it very charming.
Yeah, I don't know if I would count it as a guilty pleasure, but yeah, I sometimes, I can see the seams of a movie and I'm like, I'm fine with this because I'm having so much fun. Yeah. I feel like I did see a clip of one review of this movie, a contemporaneous review that said that Matthau and Lemmon are better than the their script they've been given. Yeah. And I kind of would agree with that. Like, this is coasting on their decades-long friendship, the actors' decades-long friendship, and just that they are able to sort of bring a lot of this to life. Because a lot of this is just them, like, yelling at or sort of sniping at each other.
Yeah.
Morning, dickhead. Or just, Walter Matthau saying putz under his breath. It gets a giggle out of me. Yeah. So I think it does get by on a lot of charm from the both of them, even though it is sort of a paint-by-numbers rom-com. I will say, though, what I do appreciate about it is there is a specificity to this movie that I really enjoy, and something that I feel I am lacking in a lot of movies these days. I love that it's...
Here we go.
First off, we have a lot, just the age of the main characters themselves in their 50s and 70s. And the specificity of, the ice fishing, Minnesota, Wabasha itself as a place just feels so... It's not just that they're old men and they're complaining about their ailments, but they also have these specific hobbies that have their own culture around them. It's so fun because it's so outside of my purview that it feels like you're visiting a world that, you don't see in movies all the time. And the fact that it's not set in LA or New York is a godsend. Thank you.
You're not center of the universe, okay?
Yeah, wow. Us flyover states, we fall in love too.
Was there like a geriatressance in the 90s? Because we had the Golden Girls in the 80s too. We had the Golden Girls, we had the Grumpy Old Men franchise because this had a sequel.
Universe, yes.
We had...
And, of course, the manga of Grumpy Old Men that they released only in Japan.
Right. Well, and then, of course, Slimer has a spinoff. We had...
In the movie, Slimer is their enemy, but in the cartoon Grumpy Old Men, he is their friend.
It's just like the musky fish has a whole side story.
The Green Hornet fishing pole actually talks to Walter Matthau.
Yeah.
But only when he's alone. That's the rule.
There was other example. Cocoon. That was like a whole Wilford Brimley thing. Like,
also Daryl Hannah, right? Isn't she one of the kids in Cocoon?
I think that's like, I think that's charming because it's like, obviously those were all the things that I just named were immensely popular too.
Mhm.
And not just with old people. Like,
Don't forget On Golden Pond.
yeah, we got I think something happened where it's not like there's never any main characters that are older now, but I feel like that happened for a while in more like mainstream things, and it's not.
Can I put on my old grumpy old man hat real quick?
Yeah.
Even though I was just complaining about how movies don't have any specificity these days, I would say that they made movies for different audiences in the past.
Yeah.
And there was, a contingent of older people that would go to the fucking movies. And
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily do that now. Mostly because old people just stand outside the movie theater and complain about how much it costs.
Right.
I gotta take out a loan to get popcorn.
Yeah, schmucks.
They're just remaking everything.
It's you. The grumpy old man is you.
It is me. I've just put flour dust in my hair, and I'm just complaining outside. Didn't have to change my wardrobe, though. It's still just cardigans.
Just classic. It's a classic look. Should we just maybe pop into the problematic corner just for a moment?
Please.
Got a couple of things.
Oh, okay.
Hit it, Jackson.
Is it that Burgess Meredith is too horny? Is that the issue?
I mean, that's definitely part of it. I think so. It's very funny. Burgess Meredith's whole character he's a horn dog.
Horny old men
Yeah.
and women are funny.
It's funny, and he does there's a couple of things that definitely veer into it's more sexism than misogyny. You know what I mean? It's like not serious enough to be misogyny. It's just kind of like women are objects to be mounted.
If I was
as
a
he
young
says.
man like you, I'd be mounting every woman in Wabasha.
Why does he sound like Winston Churchill when you do?
We will mount them on the beaches. We will mount them on the shores. Beaches and shores are the same thing. Either my memory of Winston or real Winston. I can't remember.
We'll mount them on the dunes of the Cape. Now you're just quoting If You Like Pina Coladas. This is...
There is an iron curtain that is falling that must be mounted.
Did you notice that they spent a lot of time talking about the absurdity of a strip club where men would strip?
I did. I was thankful that it passed by what does he call them? Those kinky strip clubs where men take their clothes off. Yeah. Also, Burgess Meredith says, "Does she have big thighs?" Which I was like, do you want her to have big thighs or do you not want her to have big thighs?
Well, and then he says no, and then he says, well, then what's the problem?
Yeah.
So he's like, I guess he doesn't want big thighs.
Well, this was the era of the thigh master. So if you couldn't, get them under control, you haven't mastered your own thighs.
You want a gap. There's another moment where Ariel and Margaret, like, very frankly ask him, like, gay or straight?
Yeah. And
he's just like...
He's flummoxed.
And I like her being, from Berkeley, California, is like, I mean, it's a legit question.
I took that more of a... I wasn't insulted, but I took that more of a he's an old man type comment.
Yeah, I don't think
Maybe
any
that's
of this...
just my liberal purview coming from, the progressive utopia that is 2024, post November 6th, 2024.
Yeah. I mean, once we got out of all that, we can kind of make fun of whatever we want.
Their backwards ways. Yeah.
I don't think much in this is problematic, but I think there was enough in there that I felt like we needed a corner. Plus, I just love that theme song,
Well, do you want to talk about Ariel while we're here? Because I think,
yes.
I mean, she's not super problematic by any means, but she does feel like a trophy to be won.
Yes.
I wouldn't say she's not a fully realized character. She is very fun, and Anne Margaret's personality does a great job of just she's effervescent and fun to be around. However, you texted me while you were watching it that you called her a manic pixie grandma.
Manic pixie dream grandma. Yeah.
In that she does suffer from that a bit, where she exists solely to inspire them to lead more exciting lives.
Yeah.
And, she's painting. She's got, paintings of her late husband in the nude, or sculptures of her late husband in the nude that Walter Matthau was looking at. Holy moly. What else?
She just goes straight into their house.
Goes straight into their house. It's a 1:30 in the morning. She's knocking on their doors.
Lets herself in later, like just cook. Like that's
fucking,
insane.
Making pot roast or whatever the hell she was making.
Yeah, Sichuan.
Szechuan. So it did feel like I have been known to be a night owl. I will stay up late sometimes, but usually I'm staying up late not because I like being around other people. Usually, quite the opposite. Yeah. Everyone has gone to sleep, and the world is mine. To watch infomercials mostly and play video games.
The world is mine to scroll on my phone endlessly and dread getting up the next day.
Although there is she takes some of Jack Lemmon's mail and gives it back to him because she wanted to just figure out about him. And he goes, "You took some of my mail? That's a federal offense." And she goes, "I know." Which made me laugh. I also, do you have anything else to say about Ariel?
No. You want to get out of the corner?
Yeah, we can get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Kick it.
Ooh, watch out now, y'all. Let them know.
The grumpy dance is your chance to do the grump.
Oh, grumpy baby. I do want to start working Jesus Quincy Adams into my, ad libs when things go awry.
What was the other one? He says crime in Italy. I've heard like crime in Italy before. Like
I've heard crime in any.
Crime in any, yeah.
It's crime in Italy.
Criminy, or and I've just never heard it like very clear, like crime in Italy. I really like that, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's just it's a thing.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's another, instead of saying Jesus Christ or whatever, you say that. That's pretty funny.
Wonderful.
We haven't touched on this much, and I just want to say Daryl Hannah looking fine.
Yeah, I mean, she, she's doing great. Post mermaid transition, she looks great.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't even notice that those are prosthetic legs that she had to have.
The lake froze over, so she had to get out of there.
True. And the rule in Splash is if she's dry, then she's got legs.
She's got legs. Her character doesn't have a ton of depth or a lot to do. Like her personality is kind of like she's pretty and like kind of flirtate. You know what I mean? Like kind of flirtatious.
She's totally cool with people watching her when she's getting dressed as a teenage
meant
girl.
to put that in the problematic corner.
Put it back in the corner. Do we need to go back to start the theme song again?
Just pretend. Everyone take a moment. Pretend this is in the corner because I don't want to go back in there. It's scary. There's spider webs in the corner.
Yeah, I haven't dusted it in a while.
But so at some point, who's the son?
Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak's character Jacob is talking to Melanie, Daryl Hannah's character, and they're talking about, she's like saying, "You used to have a big crush on me," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And then she's like, "Remember you used to watch me through your dad's binoculars?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, you never knew why I was just leaving the curtain just open enough." And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, this isn't how actual people act.
This is saying it like it's charming, and that's weird. I didn't like that. It was upsetting.
I also didn't like that, Deej. Go ahead and mark that on the board as we both didn't like that part. Yeah. I think we can put down
the best people in the world now. I think that was it.
I couldn't agree more.
Put us over the top.
It was a tight race, but we finally eked it out. I was also bothered when Jack Lemmon has a heart attack. Max goes to see him. That's great. He's his friend. But I was also concerned, like, hey, does anyone want to call Daryl Hannah and let her know that her father's in the hospital? No one seemed to bother doing that at any point.
Well, and I imagine that she didn't live like right there. Like she lived a town away, or maybe she lived in the Twin Cities or something. Like she was like maybe she did eventually. I'm sure she eventually did this.
Gilmore.
What?
With that guy from Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, Shooter McHusband.
Tyler was like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, he's from Happy Gilmore, but I had to specify, you probably remember him from Hacks.
Or Dirty Work. He's also in Dirty Work.
Tyler does not remember him from Dirty Work. That I can tell you that. I can tell you that.
This is the movie that taught me that, a symptom of a heart attack is like the arm. Because I remember like being, because we were like 11 or something when this came out. It was like, why is he moving his arm? You know, like, and then I learned from this movie that's, you know.
That's nice to know, so that every time you feel something in your arm,
you're
like, Esther, I'm coming home. Like, every time I'm like, this is it.
I'm like 12 years old, like, well, this is the big one.
Yeah, did we get any hints of a heart problem or anything from him? I mean, I know he's old and things happen, but
I feel like he took medicine at some point, but no, not really.
It felt like the story, as I've already alluded to, it felt like the story was like, shit, we got to do something. And it went into overdrive right at the end, and he just sort of has a heart attack.
I mean, he's an old man, you know?
I know.
But, yeah, I knows that. What do you want to talk about?
And we can never escape the cold, clammy hand of death, but still.
True. It's coming for all of us. Probably through a heart attack. I mean, statistically. Wow.
It's a good thing I watch what I eat. Hold on, I just have to look in the middle distance a little longer.
Amen. Do you want to talk about the IRS subplot for a moment?
Yes. First off, I like that Buck Henry is around. I love whenever I see Buck Henry.
What's he from? I don't think I recognize
Stuff.
Him. Stuff.
I don't know. I know him best because he plays Liz Lemon's dad in 30 Rock.
Okay.
But he's been a comedian around and a writer for.
Thank you for saying in 30 Rock after you already said Liz Lemon.
Well, some people just don't know. Plus, we're also dealing with Jack Lemmon. It throws everything off.
That's true. That's a good point. Do you think they're related? She dropped the M.
They both spell and pronounce their names differently. Let me see. I want to see what he is known for because I sound like a goddamn idiot when I don't know.
Henry.
He was a writer for The Graduate. Have you ever heard of that movie?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've actually seen that one.
I think he does a lot of. I know he's popped up on The Daily Show too as like a correspondent. He will do like very rare desk bits with Jon Stewart and the Jon Stewart in the earlier Jon Stewart era. Jon Stewart, of course, the first non-consecutive host of The Daily Show. Oh, did I remind you of something? Hi, everyone. You're enjoying your December, but we're not enjoying our early November.
Grover Cleveland stresses me out, man.
Grover Cleveland, as a trivia aficionado, I know this is the least of everyone's worries, but my heart goes out to the Grover Cleveland family and estate that they lost that sweet, sweet trivia chestnut.
Yeah. That's like
lost
all
the time forever.
That's
all you got.
It's going to be lost to history because that was it. That's all you had.
That's all he had.
Do you think when he got back in, they were like, Jesus, we're doing this fucking shit again?
I'm sure someone was like, fucking Christ.
How goddamn embarrassing is that? So
it's like you can't even remember how bad the end of Grover Cleveland's administration was?
It just happened. Non-consecutively, of course.
It didn't just happen as much as it would have if he was won re-election from his same term, but still.
Hello, my dear friend, John Trivial Pursuit. Write that down. Put it in your future game. Hello. I need to call the twins, the Parker brothers. Okay, anyway, so there's John, Jack Lemmon's character, has IRS debt. IRS agent played by Buck Henry. And so at some point that it gets so serious that they're
Tyler, by the way, kept
repossessing
calling him
his house.
Buck Angel, who is a pornographic actor. Like, he's not Buck Angel, he's Buck Henry. Yeah, so and this seems to be like on the technicality, just so that we don't lose any respect as tax-paying Americans for John Gustafson.
Yeah.
In that he claimed to be the sole breadwinner for his house, but his wife had a part-time job, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Buck Henry's boo, hiss, the
like 11 years of
tax man.
Benefits. So actually, he was like $1,000 a year, a little over, that he actually got from this benefit, like that, of unpaid taxes. And then that added up to 13,000 years, or $13,000. But that it's just been so long that he's owed this money that now
interest
like $57,000
late fees. Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah,
and so Max eventually pays it in the last scene. Max and Jacob, I guess, pool their money together and pay
Jacob
the tax
got them to drop all the interest and the fees and stuff, and so it was just $13,000, and then Max paid it for him. But he said, "Don't take this the wrong way. It's a loan." Echelon.
Oh, God, I could listen to Walter Matthau say anything. And if you watch the first season of The Simpsons, you kind of do, because Dan Castellaneta is doing a Walter Matthau voice for Homer.
Yeah. Is that true?
It is. And when I told Tyler this, against his will, he then Walter Matthau shortly after said, "Eat my shorts." And I'm like, oh, do you think that's a reference? I'm like, probably not.
Probably not.
But that is a whole new world playing in the background.
It is.
That is a reference to a movie that probably came out like 2 months earlier.
There's one more. I think generally speaking, I mean, Jack Lemmon gets plenty of funny lines too, but I do feel like the lion's share of them go to Walter Matthau. But
and that's a reference to The Lion King, which comes out the following year.
And a little known fact, Mufasa voiced by Walter Matthau.
We're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave.
Everything the light touches, Simba. I can't do it, Walter Matthau.
That turned into Sean Connery real quick.
It's really hard. You got to like bring the jowls.
Yeah, you really got to you do have to just don't only open your lower jaw. Do not open the top of your head. Just the morning, dickhead.
My version is FDR. The only thing to fear is fear itself. It's still kind of Sean Connery. Oh man. Anyway,
look, you got a box of tricks, and you know what's in there, and it's Sean Connery. Every time you're reaching in, it's just Sean Connery.
Hello, it's me again. I do like the scene after Jack Lemmon gets made for the first laid. After Jack Lemmon gets made. Oh my god. After Jack Lemmon gets laid for the first time since October 4th, 1978, he does a little dancing move, and it's very charming.
It was very charming. And to his credit, he can crack eggs open with just one hand.
Ooh,
the Paul Hollywood style. I was a little bothered by her asking him, because he was nervous about sex in the post-AIDS world of 1993. Mm-hmm. She asked him when was the last time he had sex, and he had said October 4th, 1978. And I wanted to say, when was the last time you had sex, madam? Takes two to tango. We should both know each other's sexual histories.
Well, yeah, and she said she hadn't slept with anyone since her husband. She didn't say when that was, nor if he had any sexually.
Nor if it was her husband himself. Polycule stuff.
Ooh.
Open marriage.
Berkeley, California, baby.
Holy moly, look at all the crap you've got.
Do you want to do quotes? I don't really.
I mean, I'm running out of them at this point until it's Burgess Meredith just talking filth about
most of it. I don't think
sexual
I can even...
congress.
Burgess, but we got it's mostly just like you said. A lot of these are just only funny because Walter Matthau or someone says them funny. Where he says when she goes back inside, he goes slippery, very slippery. I don't know why I like that so much.
Burgess Meredith does watch Ossie Davis go in. Was it Ossie Davis, or are they watching Walter Matthau go in?
It's Chuck. It's Ossie Davis.
And Burgess Meredith looking over Jack Lemmon's shoulder and says, and this is in the theatrical cut, not in the outtakes, the end, where we got like 5 or 6 others.
Yeah.
He goes, looks like Chuck's taking one eye to the optometrist.
Burgess Meredith's got a lot. So at one point, Jack Lemmon brings him like a 6-pack of beer on the ice fishing hut, and he takes one, or he leaves one and like takes the rest of them or something like that, and he goes, "Keep the change."
Oh, what a weird man. And you know what he doesn't say in this movie? You can shit in one hand and wish in the other and see which one gets filled up first. That's in Grumpier. Old Men.
Okay.
Apparently.
You didn't get that little nugget of wisdom until 2 years later.
Soothing bit of philosophy. Does he die in Grumpier Old Men? Does Burgess Meredith die? Okay.
Yes.
What's that?
She's available and hot to trot. I just like saying hot to trot. Such an old man thing.
I don't have any of that. That exhausts all my quotes, but you can keep going if you like.
Lauren,
Do
also
I look
this
squashed in this.
Are you being compressed? You can bring your camera down a little bit. Is that what it is?
I don't know what it is.
Hat to trot. Remember this from the intro?
Oh yeah, you're flawless, grumpy old men.
Lauren, this is a Lauren quote. She said, "How did they make this cable appropriate? This is dirty." Just the movie in general. I like that. Fun fact, this is not a quote, but a fun fact, apparently the interior scenes were filmed in Paisley Park, aka Prince's studio.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And he chased Walter Matthau around in his neighborhood by a car while Walter Matthau was just running from him. Do you know that?
No.
No, that was Sinead O'Connor. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah. I did know
we
that
still having fun.
I did know that I think he brought both Jacqueline and Walter Matthau in and then like beat them with a pillowcase full of batteries. I don't know.
We honor Prince today. That's why I'm wearing this lavender, muted lavender, but still.
Burgess also says at some point, like, the first 90 years go by pretty fast. And then he Jack goes, yeah. And he's like, what? And he's like, you said the first 90 years go by pretty fast. And he's like, they do? How do you know? You're so young. It's like,
you just said that. Must be fun to be old, I imagine, based on this and only this movie.
Yeah. It
you ready for a verdict?
Yeah. When we get out of here, let's go.
Yeah.
Damon.
Oh my God.
Tell
That's
me.
Too much.
I just noticed my hair is sticking up. This is
no.
embarrassing.
We're going to have to refilm this whole thing. You got a Dennis the Menace thing going on.
Oh, gosh.
But the British Dennis the Menace because you got brown hair.
Embarrassingly unstylish middle-aged men. It's the name of this podcast.
I thought all the kids were wearing cardigans. DH, I enjoyed this movie. It's funny. All the actors are charming in it. It has its flaws as a plot. I mean, it doesn't feel. It could have used a few more minutes in the oven, but I mean, it's just sort of fun to hang out with these characters. The specificity of this movie I really liked and enjoyed, and it's infectious. It's one of those movies that just wins you over on naught but charm. And also, I mean, I don't know why I said naught but charming. There's more than that, but it's a good movie. I don't have much more to say about it. Is it paper thin? Kind of.
Yeah.
But it is enjoyable and I like it.
Got any nominees?
Oh, right. Those fuckers. I mean, I'm going to have to give the Catherine O'Hara. We've been quoting him the entire time and trying to do his voice, varying back and forth between other character actors, but it has to be Walter Matthau.
What about Burgess, though?
Yeah. I might give it to him if we ever watch Grumpier Old Men, but I'm going to give it to Walter Matthau in this one.
I'm with you on that. Do you have a single scene, a Sally Fields Memorial Single Scene Award? We got, I think for me it might be the, I was just thinking the fight on the ice, but I don't know. It's it's only funny at the end because they're mostly fighting. It could just be, maybe we should give that to Burgess Meredith for his taking a one eye to the optometrist.
I mean, that is a good line. I don't know if it's that great of a scene, though. I'm trying to think, though, because I don't have... Do you want to give it to the pharmacy scene?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Well, as far as your verdict goes, Damon...
Yeah.
I couldn't disagree less. I couldn't disagree. It is...
Yeah, got it.
Your Child's Not an Idiot. This movie's great. I think... I don't necessarily disagree with your saying the plot is half baked, but I also think you're just reaching because it's you don't need any more than this. And if it did have more than this, we might push out some jokes. And I think the jokes are obviously why we're here.
I agree. I feel like I think the movie would be better served if they had just cut out the IRS crap entirely. They brought it up, and then they're like, "Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Well, you made me worry about it because one of the few things that does get me anxious in movies is when people are having money trouble."
Yeah,
and then I'm like, "Oh," I tighten up, and then they're like, Walter Matthau paid for it.
When it serves as a way of showing, because Max pays for it, it's a way of showing that they're friends, but also they kind of did that by him getting sick and then Max taking care of him. So I'm like, didn't really need that as like a character beat. So I'm like, maybe they didn't know they were going to do the heart attack thing when they wrote in the IRS thing. I don't know, but it doesn't bother me, and I think it's very much carried by the chemistry of the grumpy old men, and I think they named it appropriately, and I think it's great.
No matter how many of them there are.
I think Anne Margaret's great, playing the Ariel, and Burgess Meredith's great. Kevin Pollak doesn't get a ton to do. He's great though. Like he's fine. You know, he's not a comic character, so he just adds a little bit of. We got a side romance story that we don't really care about. Daryl Hannah's in it, just chilling.
Well, it shows you that, you know, if you stick to your guns and keep looking in through girls' windows, you'll eventually win them over.
I don't want to even joke farther with that because it's just an ugly time to be alive. What do you think, everybody? Your inner child is an idiot at gmail.com. You can text us or leave us a voicemail, 615-576-0525. We want to thank our patrons for supporting the show. We want to thank Just Cuz,
Little Miss Chicken Nugget,
Lindsay Halik,
Jody Passanisi,
Tommy Boyish, my favorite movie.
I knew it was coming. Well, that's getting into Bane. Travis Vance.
Lindsay, now. I can't do it.
Beth Surmont. Now do Walter Matthau doing Jeff Goldblum, please.
Dr. Malcolm's heaving bosom. It is like...
I was born to the dark.
It is very Bane.
Where are we? Oh, Larissa Maestro.
David Mort. I'm just leaning into it now.
Fucking Christ. Particle Man.
The supreme ruler of this darkness. Sorry, podcast.
Actually, this is a good Walter Matthau one. Shit on the cartouche.
Yeah, you're the master of it.
Fucking Rich Little over here.
At the Tuggle.
Bill Haynes.
Caroline Amberson.
Oh, here's another good Walter Matthau one. His Honor the Mayor.
Jeremy Powlen, you putz.
T. Smith.
Karen Kurd.
Oh, wait, where did I go?
You skipped Karen, but it's okay. You can just do this one.
We got Jeremy, though?
Yeah.
And I just said T. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say, oh no, Damon's Australian accent.
The hands of fate.
Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon.
The Zesty.
Zachary Hartley.
The Elusive and Gromkin.
Jonathon Day. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Josh Frigo.
And Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Thank you all very much, and sorry to everyone. If you want to support
I think that was our best name reading that we've ever done.
If you want to support like them,
but
Patreon,
also the worst in another more specific way. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Stop interrupting the part where they can go to patreon.com/your inner child is an idiot and support us. It's monthly now. You don't even have to pay per episode. It's monthly.
And who's complaining about that?
Not me. Not everyone that had to switch to monthly on Patreon.
No, sir.
A whole new world.
I remember when Ariel and John Gustafson are flying around and they knock the nose off the Sphinx.
And then they're like, Kitty, take off your clothes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, that's... Sorry. That's just...
Sorry, that was Walter Matthau being a creep.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.